The second thing is, her economic plan is better than his. It's just better. And they're saying, if you listen to Trump, they basically say, you did well when I was president, and we had no inflation, therefore you have to vote for me. Isn't that what they basically say? And you probably talked to a lot of your neighbors who say that. Well, the first thing I want to tell you is the reason President Trump had a couple of good years early is that he inherited the tail end of Obama's recovery. And something magic happened. You remember, Trump is the best guy I ever saw to claim credit. He's the best credit claimer I've ever seen. I mean, you've heard him, maybe. The sun rose this morning. I made that happen. But it rained yesterday. If I had been president, it never would have rained. I mean, you got to give it to the guy. He's really good at this. But here's the thing. When you're used to something good happening or something bad happening, it sometimes takes longer for public opinion, for people to feel and believe that it's changed. For example, we had run deficits since 1969, and every year when I was running for president. And I said, look, this debt thing has got out of hand. With trickle-down economics, interest rates are too high. It's keeping middle-class incomes down. It's increasing poor people's problems, and we should grow this economy from the middle out and the bottom up, and this is how we're going to do it. Well, and I warned people. I said, to do this, to really get rid of the deficit, we're going to have to raise some money, and we're going to have to cut some spending. And it's going to be like going to the dentist without any painkillers. And you just got to be willing to do it. If you vote for me, that's what I'm going to do, because it's the right thing to do. And nobody likes it, but we've got to do it to get the country's economy going. And you might remember that we got thumped in the midterms in 1994 because nobody felt it was happening. It was 3 full years after we started bringing down the debts that people would say it was happening. But my margin of victory in Michigan, for example, between 1992 and 1996, went from 8 to 13 points. So I did 5 better. But it took time. And I woke up in a cold sweat for 15 years. I swear I did, having mad dreams about all the people who lost their careers because they had to stand for re-election before people felt the change. So in the 2016 election, the economy was already roaring, but people didn't feel it yet. So they felt it in 2016, and there was Trump there to take the credit for something he never was for. And he is gambling that he can do it again. I'm telling you, if you mean that, then you need to get on the phone and you need to show up and you need to do all this work. Because I'm telling you, I have lived this. I know what it's like to get caught having to face the voters when things have already changed for the better and people don't know it. What's the cost of living issue? Basically, food, fuel, and housing and health care, right? Okay. We are about to finish 4 years, which produced the largest number of jobs in any 4-year period in the history of the United States of America. But people don't necessarily feel that yet because we've had a return of inflation for the first time in 40 years. and it's debilitating. But it was unavoidable. Why? Every rich country's faced it. Because COVID busted all the supply chains. So let's just take your hometown here. Suppose the city council decided that we can't afford the fuel and we're having terrible trouble. So from now on, the only kind of transportation we'll have in the city limits are little motorcycles, little ones, no gas. But so that's where we're going to go around, and we'll have those for people who are disabled. They'll have big basket carts. We'll figure out how everybody got a place to ride. Okay, and suppose that there's a guy here who sells them, and he's got, and all he can get his hands on are 500. And there are umpty-dump thousand of you that now have to buy them. So if the price is, the demand is here and the supply is here, what's going to happen to the price? That's what happened. But when things calmed down and the supply chains were beginning to be rebuilt, the food prices didn't really drop. It's just that the rate of inflation went up. So what you want to know is how much of this is due to continuing problems in the supply chain and how much of it is due to the fact that most groceries are part of big chains today. And they have tens of millions of customers. So if their profit margin goes up literally 1%, it'll all come out of your hide, and it'll make a huge difference to them. So Kamala Harris, who was Attorney General of California, said 37 states have price gouging laws, but they're not big enough to take on the chain. So we're going to have a national price gouging law, and the Justice Department can monitor this every week. They can see what's happening so that you don't pay more than you have to pay, and we get the benefit of the prices going down. And that's important. And it's not expensive, it's not big, and it can be really meaningful. On the fuel, it's the one thing we do notice immediately, don't we? Gas prices go down, we notice that. So this is really important. So what's been the Biden-Harris policy? All of the above, essentially, which is all the clean stuff: solar, wind, geothermal, hydro, even some small-scale nuclear that I think is safe because these little tablets, or the pellets, are covered in ceramic and will last for 100 years without damaging the ground. And we still don't have enough of everything else, and so she favors natural gas, but with very high standards for mining and building the pipelines. Otherwise, you lose everything. If the pipelines leak, you have methane, and that's a bigger greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. What's Trump's policy? Trump's policy, as reported widely in the press, and he did agree, this is what he said. He talked to the oil industry moguls and said, you have to give me $1 billion. And if you give me $1 billion, I will get rid of every energy decision made in the Biden years. I'll get rid of all of them. Now, that's a very big deal, because if we go back to nothing but oil and gas and coal, we will not produce enough energy to meet our needs. We will not have nearly as many jobs as we got in clean energy in most states. and we'll pay a terrible price environmentally and health-wise. So hers is better. Her position is better. We'll have more jobs and a brighter future if we do all of the above and we're careful with our children's environmental future than if we just, lean into yesterday, which is what they want to do. So that's another reason I'm for Harris instead of Trump.